All right, what's up, FFA? Let's kick off this Friday morning call. What a week it has been for so many of you guys running to new heights. So excited to see it. I know a lot of teams are on track to hit a record week. And on today's call, we're going to talk to an agent who not only does phenomenal on individual production, but she also has just recruited a lot of people lately, put a lot of people in pre-licensing, has been training a lot of people. So we're going to talk to her about how to go from agent to agency owner. So stay tuned for that. But as we jump into today's call, let's kick it off with the verse of the day. It's Psalm 37:5. Let the Lord be your guide into the future. Trust in him and he will help you. Guys, I don't know about you, but when you're trying to run to a certain destination, a certain goal, whatever that may be, financially, with your family, with your health, whatever it is that you're running for, it's a lot easier when you have a guide, right? When you're not out there trying to do it all by yourself. And you can relieve a lot of pressure off of yourself if you take this verse and just run with it. Let him be your guide. Let him be the one that directs your steps, directs your paths. All right. And just do your best to follow what you think he's calling you to do. And I promise you, he will unlock things for you that you never thought were possible. So on today's call, guys, we're going to talk about recruiting. We're going to talk about building. If you missed Wednesday's call, go back and listen to it. I dove into how to build a sales team. And today you're going to get to hear from an agent who is actually doing it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Kelly. Kelly has been with us now for a long time, a couple of years. She's a veteran agent. She has just a phenomenal ability in the field with individual production. But what I really appreciate about what Kelly's done this year, she's really amped up the recruiting efforts and building her business and building her agency. So without further ado, Kelly, you are live with us. How's your morning going?
Hey, it's good. How's yours going?
Good, good. I was teasing you earlier, Kelly. I'm not going to remove myself from the call and let you just run the whole show. I know I didn't give you much of a heads up there, but Kelly, give everyone just a brief intro to who Kelly LeGrand is. How'd you get into insurance? And then let's talk about kind of your journey so far, going from just being an agent to now building a team like you've done over the past couple of years.
So I used to be in the medical field prior to having my first child. He's 13 now. And I knew that going back to the medical field was not an option for me. It just was taking all of my time. I didn't have, time with my family like I wanted. I knew that going to work at 7 a.m. in the morning and getting home till 7:30, would be a problem with a newborn. So me and my husband just decided, right now in this stage of life, it would be better for me to just, stay home and raise our child. So moving forward, 10 years later, we had 2 children. It was time for my kids to go back to school, and Alicia started reaching out to me, and, me and Alicia's been friends for years. And she was like, Kelly, I love what I'm doing. Just the same thing that I do. Like, I try to tell people, I love my job. She was doing the same thing to me. Just, Kelly, you would be so good at this. It's all good. And so she just talked to me for probably a year. It took a year to finally convince me. And when my husband heard, her trying to convince me, he was like, okay, you've got to do this, So she got him on board to try to recruit me, and that was a done deal. So I started doing insurance, and I haven't looked back since. It has truly changed my life. I could not be more grateful for the career that we have here. It gives me time with my family. I don't have to, pick and choose between my job or my family. My family's automatically going to be able to come first. And here that's possible. With my other job, it wasn't possible. And so that's kind of a background of my story.
That's awesome, Kelly. So it took a year for you to actually make the commitment and jump into that. But let's talk about too. So, you came into this, you made the sales, right? You bought the leads, you worked with people, you figured out how to do all of that. But what made you decide to take the jump and to start building an agency of your own?
So that's a God thing. And when I say that, I'm not saying that lightly. I really mean that. My plan this year was not to build an agency. My plan this year was to get my Medicare license and to dive into that. just to add to my portfolio. But our plan and God's plan is always, it looks a little bit different. So I just, people started reaching out to me. They saw my post on Facebook. I don't know. It just kind of happened. I mean, people started asking me about my job, and, people watch you. They see what you're doing. They see if you're happy. They see if you like your job or not. They watch you. So that's kind of how I got started growing my own agency this year was, God sent me people. And then once I started, talking to people, I realized how much I really enjoyed it. It's one thing to have success for yourself, but to see other people's life changed, it's just amazing. It's just a fulfillment that you just can't explain.
Definitely. We kind of hit that point too, right? It's like you accomplish what you want to do by yourself, but then when you actually see you changing someone else's life, it just brings a whole new level of fulfillment, right? In what we do. So Kelly, was it hard? Like, was it hard for you to find people who wanted to work with you? Talk about like, how do you go about finding these people that team up with you to work alongside you?
So I look for people that are go-getters. If you're a go-getter, if I see in your life that you want more, that you are striving for more. A lot of people, they're trying to work 2 jobs. They're working a full-time job and a side business. I don't know how they do it, because I mean, just working full-time is enough, but much less trying to work a side business too. So this career enables us to work, we don't have to work a 40-hour week to really be successful here, and that's what really turned me on to it, is that I don't have to work, just sell my soul to it to make a good career, to make a good living. So I look for people that are like-minded, that are go-getters, that are, motivated, that are motivational, because you want to work with people that have good spirits about them. I don't want to just work with anybody.
For sure. Yeah, that's a big
people
key,
that
right?
People that I can tell their morals line up with mine,
Definitely. It's a lot easier to build a good team, like with a good culture, right? When you're bringing on like-minded people. So what do you say to them, Kelly? Like if you kind of spot that person, maybe somebody as somebody that, knows somebody, whatever the case is, how do you like intro that conversation?
I just start talking to them like just as a friend, because most of the time they are my friend, maybe an acquaintance more than a friend, but I just start talking to them. People will tell you like how their life's going, or, hey, how's your job? How are you liking what you're doing? And they'll tell you, and then we just talk and just kind of see if it would be a fit, but I don't just dive right into, hey, you want to come work with me? I want to talk to those people. I want to see, because if they love their job, like I'm not going to try to pull them from that, So I just kind of it's just like with our job. We just talk to people, connect with them, see what's going on in their life. We're not just there to just sell them insurance and walk out the door. We're there to connect with them and be friends with them. So it's the same thing with hiring, with recruiting.
For sure. And I think what a lot of people might think, like they might think somebody's established in a specific job and they're just afraid to reach out to them. They think they'll never want to switch careers. But guys, you would be surprised how many people actually do want a new opportunity.
Yes.
Like some people are just, for whatever reason, maybe they could have went to school and had a degree, paid all this money for where they're working, but they've been doing it for 10 years now, and they're as high as up as they're ever going to go. They're just stuck in a spot, stuck in a rhythm. People like change when it comes down to that. So Kelly, what's been the hardest thing for you building a team, right? Like give everybody an idea, because it's a big hat to juggle. Now you have other people relying on you to train them, coach them, help them, make money and be successful. What's been a hard thing for you?
I'm going to be honest with you. I have a really go-getter, addictive personality. So when I get excited about something, I kind of let it consume me. Like I just want to push, just go. And if I'm not careful, that's all that I will think about. So the balance of trying to make sure that I'm not, letting this be just the whole, the whole part of my life, you know what I mean? And still like taking time and not working too much or not trying to recruit too much, things like that. it's just finding that balance, because I
Mhm.
just really get excited about something. And when I see it, just start taking place, it's good to me. It makes
Mhm.
me happy. It brings me joy. So just finding that balance, that work, wife, mom, life balance,
Mhm.
it's just something that I have to work on every day.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, Kelly. That's like a key characteristic for people who become really successful, and not just in insurance, but just in business in general, is they kind of have that like hyper focus. When you're on something, you're just on it type of thing,
Yeah.
you know? Like I had to catch myself with that too. I'm like, if I'm focused on one, like I'll consume myself with that.
Yes.
And I step back from it and be like, okay, this, so I totally get what you're saying there. Let's talk about training, Kelly, right? So it's one thing to talk about, how to find people, how to talk about the career opportunity, see if it's a good fit for them. But then it's a whole different ball game of taking them from that to getting their license, getting trained, and then they actually make their first sale. They're making money. And every agent that you've brought on, I've seen like they get licensed, trained, and boom, they're writing. It's like a streamlined process. You don't have people just kind of hanging out. So how do you go about training and making sure that they're actually out there on their own doing good?
So I tell my agents the very first, like starting out, even when they're in the licensing
Mhm.
process, I'm talking to them daily, maybe not daily, but weekly, several times a week. I'm reaching out to it. I put them all in I group them all in a message together, and I reach out to that group, sporadically through the week, just to find out what they're doing. Hey, how's it going? Do you need my help? Because I want them to know that, I'm not just bringing them on to let them go by themselves. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
am bringing them on from the very beginning to walk them through every process of this, because it's confusing. I mean, if you've never been in, if you've never done this type of thing, if you've never had to get your license for anything, there's a lot to it.
Mhm.
And it can be very overwhelming, and it can be very stressful and confusing. So I try to make sure that I reach out to them. And as far as my new agents that have already launched and came on, you know, I probably drive them crazy, because when I don't hear from them, it worries me. It's like they're my
Mhm.
babies. You know what I mean? If I don't hear from them a few times a day, if I know they're in the field and I'm not hearing from them, I'm blowing them up. Hey, how's it going? Are you okay? Because I remember it's been 6 years, but I still remember what going out on your own feels like, and I don't want
Mhm.
them to feel like they're by themselves. I want them to know that, no matter what, you reach out if you need help, you reach out if you don't need help. Like, I want to hear from you. So
Mhm.
I just try to stay in contact with them and in touch with them, especially if I know they're in the field. And if they're not, we've been doing Zooms, like morning Zooms and stuff. I do
Mhm.
coach calls all the time, like all week long. Any given time, might be at the car pickup line. I could be doing a coaching call, because it's important. You have to stay in contact with your people, because they're my responsibility. At the end of the day, they have to show up for themselves, but I have to guide them along the way, and I take that responsibility very seriously.
That's key, Kelly. One thing that's hard with doing that is juggling all of the time,
Mhm.
right? Where you're trying to write, but you're also trying to coach, but then you're
Yeah.
also trying to be a mom. And so it's like you're doing all three different things at one time, right? So what would you say to an agent who they want to recruit, but they think in their head, like, there's no way that I could do all of that? Like, how did you get yourself to the point where you could juggle being a legit business owner, right? Managing all of that stuff.
Well, anyone can do it. It's Anybody can do it if you want it. You have to want it bad enough. You have to be willing to grow as you go, because this is not just something that comes natural for everybody. I feel like obviously, the more you add on your plate, the harder it is, but your brain adapts to it. It just
Mhm.
grows as you grow, if you allow that. And that's all I can say. You just kind of grow, and then you're able to take on more. It's like having your first child. That seems intimidating. It's hard at first, but as the child gets older, you adapt to it. You grow with the
Mhm.
child. And then you have your second child, and you're like, oh, I got this. It's the same thing. I mean, your first agent, it might be a lot, at first, but then you're like, okay, I can do this. I've got this. I can manage this. And then you add on your second agent. You've already got the t-shirt then. You
Yep.
kind of know the process. Because I remember the first agent that I hired, that I really, you know, I know my first couple of agents, I had a lot of help because, but my last agent that I hired, the process of contracting was different. It looked a lot
Mhm.
different than it did before when I was hiring, because we have a new contracting person and things like that. So
Mhm.
I'm still learning through that process. But like I said, like my first one was hard. My second one, I'm like, okay, I know how to do this now.
Yep.
And you guys are so good about, training us too to be good leaders. So
It is funny. I love the kid analogy. It is just like that. Like
mhm,
you have your first baby, you're like, oh my gosh, how do I change the diaper?
yeah.
I remember when we had Bennett in the hospital. For those of you that don't know, Bennett's our fourth kid. For me and Alicia, we were in the hospital, and it was like the day he was born or the day like right after. And I go up there to change his diaper. They got that little hospital table. I'm like, just boom, boom, done. And the nurse comes in. She's like, okay, do you need me to show you how to do that? And she's like, wow, how do you know how to do? She thought it was my first kid. I'm like, this is the fourth one. I do it sleeping, So it's
You can do it.
training's the same.
Yeah.
Training's the same thing. Kelly, let's talk about a tough topic that I don't ever really hear people talk about much, but I think it's key. What do you do as a leader, as a coach, as a builder, when you have an agent who is just not doing good, right? Like, let's just say they're just struggling. It's whatever case is, maybe their schedule's off, or how do you help a struggling agent? I think that's probably the hardest thing for a new builder, a new coach to do. It's easy if you have agents that are just crushing it, right? But when you
Yes.
have one that's just like, sometimes this business is just difficult for people. How do you tackle that?
So I get them back in the car with me, because
Mhm.
I feel like, if they can get back in the car, it, watching someone, I'm a hands-on learner, visual learner, I can read something and forget it in 5 minutes, but seeing someone and that repetitiveness of hearing something, I just get them in the car with me and we go to work. This week I've worked with two of my new girls because, I mean, it's hard starting out. This is a whole new animal for them, and I
Mhm.
understand that. So I want them to succeed here. So I'll get them back in the car with me and we'll train again, and just kind of start from scratch a little bit. Go back to the basics of what we do, and it just makes a world of difference, because now I've worked with one of them this week. She's ready to go. She's
Mhm.
got her boost back, she's got her confidence back, because she's been able to see it again hands on. So I feel like getting your agents, not being afraid to get your agents back in the car with you and taking that time is vital, because if I
Mhm.
don't do that, they're not going to be successful. It's our place to guide them and help them, and to do whatever we have to do.
Yeah, that's such a good tip. Just lead them by example. Put them back in the car. Hey, let's figure out what you're doing wrong, what you're doing
Yeah.
right. Or if you're doing telesales, hopping on a Zoom with them and listening to how they're talking to people, how their diet, like all of that stuff, guys, matters. And I think the biggest thing too in training a struggling agent is you got to figure out,
Sure.
like you were saying, Kelly, they got their confidence back, right? A lot of times, someone's struggling in this business. It's just because of the confidence issue.
Mhm.
It's not that they're bad, it's just they're just confidence lacks, and that's what's preventing them from actually being successful. And the only way to get that back is to be around someone that's confident, right? Like you, that it's contagious, right? So with that, so Kelly, let's say someone's watching this, right, and they want to start putting agents in pre-licensing, building a team, getting their business going, getting everything running. What's like their very first step? What would you tell them to do?
First of all, if people do not know what you're doing, and if they do not know you're hiring, then they're not going to know to reach out to you. My very
Mhm.
first step when I started hiring was I made a post that said, "Hey, I'm hiring new agents." And that post reached several people. It also reached people that I had previously talked to in the past about
Mhm.
about coming on board with me, that just didn't take the leap at that point. Because you never know what season of life people are in. I mean, at that time, it may not have been good for their schedule. It may not have fit into their life. Because people are actually busy. When they tell you they're busy, they're not lying to you.
Mhm.
Maybe all their kids are in ball at that time, or maybe maybe work is a lot. harder during that time, but then when their season slows down, they're like, okay, I think I can handle something now. And that's what you want. You don't want people to dive in when they really are genuinely too busy.
Mhm.
It's okay to be patient with people. You don't have to force this on them. They will come at the perfect time, because this is the thing. You don't just want to hire everybody. You don't just want to, you're not a beggar here. I'm very careful with who I hire. I don't want just anybody to come work with me. I want to make sure that I'm not going to have to beg you to come to work. I want you to go to work because you want it.
Mhm.
So you just have to, I just feel like you just have to be patient with people. But that post, just starting out, just saying, hey, look, I'm ready to build a team. I'm hiring agents right now. This is what the job entails. And I know Sam, she's really good about that, and she kind of helped me with that too. So, as agents, we're all a team. Our agency, we're all a team. We're all family here. We all want to see each other succeed. So we collaborate a lot of ideas together, those of us that are building, and I appreciate that. KZ, we all kind of talk and kind of, just bounce things off each other. So it's good.
Yeah, that's key. I love that. Just making the post, like you said, Kelly, if people don't know what you do and they don't know that there's an opportunity for them to do it with you, they're never going to do it, right? Like if one of my friends is a doctor and he's posting about, and I wouldn't think like, oh, I could go be a doctor. You know what I mean? Like people don't know that you're actually hiring guys. So you have so many people on your social media that I'm sure when they actually look into this industry would love a chance at doing it, right? You set your own schedule. You basically write your own paycheck. Sure, it's hard. You're going to get told no a bunch of times a day, right? To get told yes, but it gives you all of your freedom back if you're willing to go through the grind of doing it. So, Kelly, what's your goal for this year, right? I know you said initially you were like, I'm going to get Medicare license, but then now it's turned into, dang, I've got all these agents coming aboard, training them, right? So I know you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
What's the goal for you and your team this year?
I want to hit my next promotion as our team.
Mhm.
I want to see my agents just crushing it, hitting 20K a month and not even blinking, because it's possible. I mean, it's so doable, 15,
Mhm.
20K a month would change their life, change their family's legacy. And just, I feel like if we work together and we push together and we stay connected, it'll happen. It'll easily happen. So I just want to get my agents just going, just rolling. I want to keep hiring. Like, I don't want to stop. I want to get a good team under me. I wouldn't mind having, 15 agents under me by the end of the year, more if possible.
Mhm.
But I want to keep hiring. I just want to see other people's life change.
Heck yeah. Love that, Kelly. You're on track to hit all of that, right? And I know you've got a handful of agents with you right now that are putting up some big numbers over the past couple weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see one of them in the running for rookie of the year this year coming into next year.
Sure.
So that's awesome. But Kelly, I appreciate you for jumping on here and sharing those tips. Any closing tip you have for somebody that wants to start running down the track of building an agency?
Don't be afraid to do it. Everybody in this agency, if you are doing this job and you're making it happen and you're successful in what you're doing, do not be afraid to add more onto your plate, because you already have that motivation, that momentum to achieve great things. Because this job, it's not for everyone. And if you're here, it's because you are a go-getter. It's because you are smart. You're willing to go to work to be successful. And so don't be afraid to add something else to your plate. Be confident and know that you can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to. And thankfully, here, the sky's the limit. You can go as high as you want to. There's no cap on what you can do. So don't be afraid to just, do it.
Love that tip, Kelly. Thank you for jumping on here and sharing that with us. Guys, that's all we got for you, okay? Let's go hard this day, Friday, wrapping up the week today and tomorrow. And just like Kelly said, if you've been contemplating building or thinking about, just do it. Just go out there and stop holding yourself back from the success that I know is intended for you to achieve. So, Kelly, I appreciate you for hopping on here. That's all we got for you guys. We'll be back Monday.